I'm going to begin by foiling this. So let's do the 4 first. That becomes 4x plus 8. Then I'll do this negative x right here. That becomes negative x squared minus 2x. When I combine these two terms, 4 minus 2 is 2x plus 8 minus x squared. And when I rearrange that, that is going to be negative x squared plus 2x plus 8. Of those, my y-intercept is this value, the c value. So at my graphs, I want to figure out where the y-intercept is 8. 8 is right here, so it can't be b. 8 is right here, so it could possibly be a. Looking down at c and d, 8 is right here, so it couldn't be c, and 8 is right here, so it could be d. Now, going back to what the equation is, I have my coefficient of a is negative. So we need to figure out if a negative a value opens up or opens down. We know that another negative a value that we're used to is negative 16, which is gravity. A gravity graph opens like this. So if you have to choose between A, which opens down, and D, which opens up, it's going to be letter A. To solve this inequality, I put it right here. I'm going to draw my river, and I want to get y by itself because I know these are linear. So I'm using this form, y equals mx plus b. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides to get this y by itself. These cancel, leaving negative 2x plus 4 and negative y on that side. I'm going to bring down my inequality as well. In front of this negative y is an invisible 1, and to get y by itself, I'm going to divide each term by negative 1. This becomes y, and because this is a negative number, that's really important, I have to flip the sign. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 is positive 2. 4 divided by negative 1 is negative 4. So this is my inequality right here. Y is greater than 2x minus 4. Because this is slope, and the slope is positive, I can automatically get rid of this because it's a negative slope, and this because it's a negative slope. I'm left with C and D. Okay, so this one is underneath the line, and this one is above. If y right here is greater than, then I know it needs to be above the line. My answer is going to be D. Two binomials, so I'm going to FOIL it. This becomes 3x squared minus 3x. And then the 2 is next. I'll do plus 6x and then minus 6. I'm going to combine these like terms. Negative 3 plus 6 is positive 3x. I bring down the 3x squared in the front and the minus 6. This is going to match with letter B. Beginning with y equals mx plus b for a linear line, a parallel line is going to have the same slope. So my slope is going to be the same. It's going to be 4. Now I'm going to use these points up here. My y value is 6. Bring down the equal sign. My x value is 1. So 4 times 1. And then I'm solving for b. 4 times 1 is 4. I bring down the b. 6 equals. And then to get b by itself, I have to subtract 4. These cancel, leaving 2 equals b. Now, what is the value of b? That's all I need to have. So b equals 2. I would typically do this on the calculator, but since this is calculator inactive, I need to do it by hand. However, it's the same thing, so it's pretty simple. I have an f of x and a g of x. So I'm going to make an xy table for both functions. I'm going to label this f of x, and this one is g of x. Now all I want to do is fill in some values for x and see when f is less than g, or what's the largest value for it to be less than. So we're always going to be at 0, and let's just do a couple of x values. So when I plug this in, 1/2 times 2 to the power of 0. 2 to the power of 0 is 1 times 1/2 is 0.5. 2 to the power of 1 is 2 times 1/2 is 1. 2 to the power of 2 is 4 times 1/2 is 2. 2 to the power of 3 is 8 times 1/2 is 4. I can already see this pattern. It's doubling each time. On this side, I'm going to use this equation. 5 times 0 is 0 plus 2 is 2. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. Sorry, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. And I can already see this pattern each time I'm adding 5. Now, f of x is still smaller than g of x, so I have to add some more numbers. It's just going till 7. All right, same thing. And now I can see this is doubling each time, so I can just continue that pattern. Double of 4 is 8, double of 8 is 16, double of 16 is 32, and double of 32 is 64. On this side, I'm adding by 5, so I can just keep on going like that. 22, 27, 32, 37. And so f of x is smaller here, f of x is smaller here, 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 but it's getting larger. So it's smaller here still, it's even here, and then it's finally bigger at the 7 mark. So right here, so because these are even, 632, 632, the largest integer value of x, so that f is less than or equal to g of x, is going to be an x value of 6. Every time after 6, f of x is going to be not less than, it's going to be larger than. We're dealing with a quadratic here, and I know that because I have an ax squared in the front of my function. Now to do that, I have to factor. It tells us exactly what we want to do. We want to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to put 0 equals 9x squared minus 54x minus 144. So it says equal 0, which is why I'm setting it equal to 0. We always want to figure out if there's a GCF. My GCF between A, B, and C is going to be 9. So I'm going to factor out a 9. On the inside, I'm going to have x squared. Negative 54 divided by 9 is negative 6. And then 144 divided by 9 is going to be 16, and it's going to be negative. From here, I do not want to get rid of the 9, but I can ignore it for now. I'm going to use what's inside the parentheses right here and factor it. Because there's no coefficient in front of this, I can just put an x in each of these. And what multiplies to equal 16 adds to equal 6. So my factors of 16, I have 4 and 4, 8 and 2, 16 and 1. Well, I know to get to 6, I'm going to do 8 and 2. Now I need to figure out what the signs are going to be for negative 6. If I have a negative 8 and a positive 2, these will FOIL to equal what I have above. For my solutions, what is going to make this equal 0? It's going to be positive 8, and over here it's going to be negative 2. Going back to the question, it says how many units of the product does the company need to sell? I cannot sell negative units, so my answer is going to be 8 units. In this scenario, my nickels is represented by N, the number of nickels, and my number of quarters is represented by Q. Because I have 50 coins, I know my number of nickels plus my number of quarters must equal 50. To get the total value, I have $7.10. So I need to make sure these are also in dollar units. A nickel is worth 0.05, and then I multiply that by nickels, and a quarter is worth 0.20, and I multiply that by Q. When I have these two equations, I can figure out which one it is. So I have N plus Q equals 50. I see that here, and I don't see it really anywhere else. So that automatically tells me that A is going to be the answer. But then I also see 0.05 N and 0.25 Q equals $7.10. So my answer is going to be letter A. What is the y-intercept? Well, I know the y-intercept is my b value, so it's going to be 5. If I imagine it on a graph, my y-intercept right here is going to be 5. That is when x equals 0 on this axis right here. So it's always going to mean this, the beginning. So which one of these means the beginning? Initial, that means beginning, so we can keep that. Final is the opposite. That's not what it's going to be. The rate is the slope, which does not mean the y-intercept. And the amount of time would be at the end, which also is not the y-intercept. So the best answer is letter A. This problem is as easy as plugging in a number. So I have C of M being months, which is really important. is equal to 20M plus 40. The question is asking how much will it cost for a membership of 1 year. 1 year needs to be converted to months, and 1 year is equivalent to 12 months. So instead of plugging in 1, I need to plug in 12. All I do is add that to my equation. So what is 20 times 12 plus 40? Remember, this is calculator inactive. 2 times 12 is 24, and then I add the 0, plus 40 is going to give me C of M, which is 280. So my answer is going to be, in dollars, 280. Because of this word right here, linearly and constant rate, I know this is going to be a linear function. So I can make an XY table. X being time, and Y being the depth. So it begins at 1:30 p.m. and then it is 2.4 feet. It then goes to 4 p.m. and it's now at a depth of 3.9 feet. It's asking when will it be, or how deep it will be right here at 5 p.m. Now, the complicated thing about this is that traditionally I would go like this and find the differences. But when I deal with time like this, it's because 1 hour is 60 minutes. It's not really easy to add to and from hours. So I'm going to change these units. I'm going to say that it's beginning at 0. And to get from 1:30 to 4 p.m., it's going to be an hour and a half, which is, or sorry, not an hour and a half. It's going to be 2.5 hours, which is equivalent to 150 minutes. So I'm going to change this to 0, and then over here I'm going to put 150. Now to get from 4 to 5, that's 1 hour, which I know is 60 minutes. So I'm going to add 60 to 150 to get 210. So instead of using these units, I'm going to use these units in blue over here. Now I can figure out what my rate of change is. So from 2.4 to 3.9, that's plus 1.5, and this is what I'm looking for right here. From 0 to 150, it's plus 150. When I do my rise over my run, that becomes 1.5 over 150. When I simplify that, this can go into this 100 times, so I know it's going to be around 1%. So this becomes 0.01, which is my slope value. Okay, so to go from here on this side, from 150 to 210 is plus 60, and now this has to equal 1%. So I'm looking, if my denominator is 60, what is my rise value? So to get this, I need to figure out how this is going to equal the same slope from before. So in this scenario, I can cross multiply. So 60 times 1.5 is going to be 90. Over 150 is going to be 6 over 10, or equal to 0.6. So on this side right here, my new rise is going to be 0.6. When I add that to 3.9, that's going to equal 4.5. So at 5 p.m., my depth is going to be 4.5 feet. The units are really important in this question. Y is her savings. So let's do each bullet point at the same time. Sally will save. So she's talking about her savings. Y goes on this side. At least. At least it means that it's going to be greater than or equal to 20 more. So that's 20 plus half of her paycheck. And her paycheck is represented by the letter X. So that's going to be one of our inequalities. So this one's done. Next, she can save. So again, we're talking about her savings again. At most. At most means less than or equal to 80 more than. So 80 plus 2/3. So 2/3 of her paycheck, which again is the letter X. So I have these two right here. Lastly, the inequality, her paycheck each month. So in this scenario, her paycheck is letter X. So we're dealing with this. Is at least. So at least means greater than or equal to $1,200, but no more than $1,850. So it can't be any more than, that's going to be one of these, $1,850. Except for I don't really like the signs like this, so I'm going to rewrite it as this. 1200 at the base, less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 1850. So these are the three inequalities that we are using. So which one has that? I see y equals with these fractions, not here, and also not here with the x's. Okay, so it's down to B and C. Between B and C, I know that x needs to be bigger than 1200, and then and right here I see it's bigger than 1200, but it needs to be less than 1850. Right here it's less than 1850. So my answer is going to be letter B. Which formula can be used to determine the number of printers? So I'm trying to get P by itself. I'm going to rewrite the equation. T equals 581s plus 150p. I like to keep this variable by itself, so everything else I'm going to move over. Draw my river and subtract 581s from both sides. These cancel out, and when I rewrite this, I have t minus 581s is equal to 150p. To get this p by itself, I divide by 150, canceling these and leaving p just like we wanted it to. And this is the equivalent to t minus 581s over 150. My answer here matches with letter C. Looking for a positive 0, which means I have to set this equal to 0. So 0 equals x squared minus 121. I don't need to factor this because there's no b value. So the easiest thing for me to do is just add 121 to both sides. These cancel, leaving 121 equals x squared. Now, when I take the square root, remember, anytime I take the square root, there are going to be two answers. So the square root of 121 is equal to positive and negative 11. Since the problem's asking for the positive 0, the answer is going to be just plain 11. In a systems of equations, because this is calculator inactive, I need to solve it by hand. I have two options. I can do elimination or substitution. The easiest way to tell that it needs to be substitution is because I have this lonely y and another y right here. That means I can take this y out and put in what is equivalent to y. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up this equation, 5x plus 4, but instead of putting y, I'm going to put what it's equivalent to. That's 1 minus x, and then don't forget to drop down everything in the equation, the equals 1. Let's draw my river, and now I'm going to solve. Distribute this 4 first. This becomes 4 minus 4x, and now I'm going to drop down the rest of the equation, 5x on the left side equals 1 on the right side. Let's combine these two terms. 5 minus 4 is positive 1x plus 4. Drop down the 1 on this side to get the x by itself. Subtract 4 from both sides, canceling this. Bring down 1x. And then 1 minus 4 is negative 3, leaving my x value to be negative 3. Here again I have the word 0, aka a root or a solution or an x-intercept. So all this means is that I set it equal to 0. So I bring down my quadratic equation. Now again, when I have this set equal to 0, I want to see, first of all, is there a GCF? If there is, I'm going to factor it out. So I see that my GCF is going to be 2, which goes into all of these. And if I factor it out, it becomes x squared minus 4x, and then 24 divided by 2 is going to be 12. Now, don't forget about this 2. You always want to keep it on the outside because it can't just disappear. But on the inside, I can just have 2 binomials. Now, because there's no coefficient here, I can just put 1x in both of these. 1 multiplies to equal 12 and adds to equal 4. So factors of 12, 6 and 2, 3 and 4, 12 and 1. To get 4, I see that 6 and 2 is going to help me out. So I can put a 6 here and a 2 here. Now I need to figure out the signs. So negative 6 and positive 2 will add to equal negative 4, making my zeros for this binomial positive 6, and this one right here, negative 2. The question's asking for the smaller 0 of the two of them, and negative 2 is the smaller number, so that's going to be your answer. When I have a scatter plot, if I want to imagine it of a line like this, and then a whole bunch of points, And then sometimes I have points that are kind of far from the line. And then we always measure how far it is from the line, and we call that the residual. So based on the residual plot, they want to exclude one data point. We want to find the biggest outlier to get rid of, because that's going to make our data just better. So in order to do that, I'm going to punch these numbers into my calculator, which I've already done. Stat, edit, and then I put into my L1, L2 column. Now to get the residuals, I'm going to go up to L3. First of all, actually I have to find the line of best fit. So stat calc 4 to get the line of best fit. And this is what I have right here. Now, after I do that, I can go back to my chart, and I hover over L3. I'm going to hit second stat to get to my list, and 7 for residual. Hit enter, and they're all going to populate right here. Now I want to figure out which one is the farthest from the line. So you can see the farthest from the line is positive, and sometimes they're negative. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, we're just looking for the bigger number. So if I look at my numbers right here, 0.4, 0.06, 0.4, 0.9, negative 2.66. So that's a big number right here. So I'm going to put that here, negative 2.66. This number is also really big, 1.75, and those match up with these points here. So it says, which one should they exclude? Which one's the bigger outlier? It doesn't matter that this is negative. This is going to be the bigger outlier because it's under by just a higher value. So this goes with 8.2, 24.3. So I see that is letter D. Letter D is going to be the point, the answer. In this scenario, I'm looking at the mean and the median of an original point, and then what would happen if I added a new point of 45. So in order to compare the mean and the median, let's look at our original versus our new data. So our original is just this in the box. So I'm going to punch that into my calculator. So clear my calculator. And I'm going to punch in these points: 8, 11, 12, 10, 9, 7, 5, 3, and 9. To get to all of my data points, I'm going to hit stat, go over to calc, and at one variable stat, enter, enter, enter. My mean is going to be 8.2, and my median is going to be 9. So my mean is 8.2, and my median is going to be 9. Now all I'm going to do is find my original, or my new data, which is only adding 45. So going back to stat, edit, at the bottom of my table, all I'm going to do is add a new point of 45. Same thing, stat calc 1, and then I have my new mean, which is going to be 11.9, and my new median, or my median is still going to be 9. So my mean is now 11.9, and my median is 9. So let's figure out which one makes sense. Mean and median will both increase. Median stay the same, so that can't be true. Next, mean will increase. Yes, it did. Median will decrease. That's false. Exit that out. Mean will increase. That is true. Median will remain the same. That is also true. Mean and median will both decrease. That is false. I'm going to do this by hand first and then show you on the calculator. So we're comparing the y-intercepts. For this quadratic right here, I know that my y-intercept is going to be negative 18. So that's my starting point. Down here, it says that this is a linear function. So to do that, I'm going to find the rate of change. 2 to 11 is plus 9, and then 20 to 41 is plus 21. On this side, I have plus 15, another plus 15, and then 25 to 60 is plus 35. If I do rise over run, it's going to be 9 over 15 or 21 over 35. On my calculator, let's figure out what that's going to equal. 9 divided by 15 is 0.6. 21 divided by 35 is also 0.6. So this is constant. My slope value is going to be 0.6. Now I plug that into y equals mx plus b because it's linear. And let's pick an easy point. I like all positive numbers, so these are the points I'm going to use. My y value is 11. My m value is 0.6. My x value is 10, and I'm solving for b. So draw my river. 0.6 times 10 is 6. drop down my 11, drop down b, get b by itself by subtracting 6, canceling these, b equals 5. So my equation is y equals 0.6x plus 5. So negative 18 is my y-intercept for the quadratic, 5 is my y-intercept for the linear, and the difference, right, that's what it's asking for, the distance between them is going to be negative 18 minus 5, so the difference is going to be 23. If you want to visualize it, so the reason it could be 23 or technically, I guess, negative 23, 5 would be, let's say this is 0. 5 would be up here, negative 18 would be all the way down here. So it's just asking for the distance, which would be 23, positive or negative. This is very straightforward. Solving to get x on one side, begin by distributing the 2x plus 16, drop down the 4x, and on this side I have 10x plus 4. I like to pick, you know what, let's combine like terms first. 2 minus 4 is negative 2x, bring down the 16, bring down 10x plus 4. Now I want to get the smaller x, so I'm going to add 2x to both sides. That way I can keep it positive. This becomes 12x. On the other side, I can subtract 4, 16 minus 4, because these cancel is going to be 12. And then to get x by itself, just divide by 12. X is going to be equal to 1. And it's asking for the x value, so that is all I need. When I'm solving a systems of equation, I'm asking for what is the intersection. So on a graph, if I have something that looks like this, maybe, the intersection is called a solution. If they are parallel, they never intersect, so this is no solutions. And on a graph, if it is the exact same line right on top of each other, then they touch at all points. This is infinite solution. So the easiest way to do this is Desmos. So on here, I have this first equation. I've already plugged it in. So if you take a look at my screen on Desmos, these are the same equations that I have. And you can see on the graph, there is one point of intersection. So for the first one, there's one solution. So over here, this first one goes with one solution. Second, I have 2x plus 2y equals 8 and 4x plus 4y equals 16. I've already put this on Desmos, and if you take a look at this graph, I can even zoom out to show you that it's just one line, which means that they're on top of each other. They are touching at all points, so this second one right here is going to be infinite solutions. Lastly, I have these two. I've also put it in on Desmos already. So this matches the last one. If you take a look at the graph, they are two parallel lines. These lines never intersect, they never touch, which means they have no solutions. So this last one right here is no solutions. This is a bit of a longer problem, and it really takes some thinking. First of all, they give this to us in standard form. We're not used to using standard forms. I want to make it into y equals mx plus b. 4x plus 3y equals 9. Let's get into y equals mx plus b by getting this by itself. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. These cancel, leaving 3y equals negative 4x plus 9. To get the y by itself, divide each term by 3. This becomes y equals negative 4 over 3x, and then 9 divided by 3 is plus 3. So this is the equation that I'm dealing with. Because it is perpendicular, I'm going to take the negative reciprocal, which means I flip the fraction and make it negative. So the opposite of a negative is going to be positive, and I'm going to flip this to be 3 over 4. Now it gives us, it goes through the points negative 2, 3. So instead of y, I'm going to put my y value here, which is 3. And instead of x, I'm going to put the x value it gives us, which is negative 2. And I'm going to solve for b. When I multiply these together, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, and it's going to be over 4. Drop down the 3, and then also drop down the plus b. Negative 6 divided by 4 is going to be negative 1.5 plus b. Drop down the plus 3 on the other side. To get b by itself, I'm going to add 1.5 to both sides, leaving b on this side, and 3 plus 1.5 is 4.5. My equation for this becomes y equals my slope of 3 over 4, which I see right here, x plus my y-intercept of 4.5. While this is the answer, I don't see that option anywhere in my multiple choice because this is in y equals mx plus b, and this is in standard. So now I need to get this number by itself. However, there are fractions, and I do not like working with fractions, so I'm going to clear it. I'm going to use my denominator, my least common multiple, multiply it by 4, and that's going to clear the fraction. So 4 times y is going to be 4y. 4 times 3 over 4, these 4's are going to cancel, leaving 3x, and then 4 times 4.5 is going to be 18. Now, this is getting closer to these values right here. I can get rid of c and d because they're not involving 18. Now, I need to get this 18 by itself. So, let's see. To get 18 by itself, let's subtract 3x on both sides. These cancel out, and I have 4y minus 3x equals 18. Now, does this match any of these? I have a positive 4y, yes, and a negative 3x. I see neither of these are negative, so if neither of these are negatives, let's try multiplying the whole thing by negative 1. When I distribute this, this becomes negative 4y, positive 3x, and negative 18. If I reorder this, this will become 3x minus 4y equals negative 18. This will be my final answer, and it's going to match with letter A. A club began. So began, that word is going to mean y-intercept because it's in the beginning. So right here, this is a linear function, but I see it has a y-intercept of 3. We're going to keep that. This is exponential down here, but it also has a beginning value of 3. So we're going to keep A and D and get rid of B and C. So in order to figure out if it's linear or exponential, let's make an XY table. It begins with 3. So in the very beginning, at month 0, there are 3 members. At month 1, each of these people brought one more person. So if each of them brought one more person, it's going to double. That's going to become 6. At month 2, each of these people brought one more person. It's going to double again. It's going to be 12. In month 3, this is going to double if each of these 12 people brought someone new. And right here, it's plus 3, plus 6, plus 12. This is not linear. It's going to be exponential because it is going at an exponential growth rate. All right, so I'm comparing Appleville and Bridgetown. So let's just label that Appleville and Bridgetown. Now it begins in 2010. So let's say this is my X value. It's going to begin in 2010. There is 1,000 people in Appleville, so that's the starting value, and 4,000 people beginning in Bridgetown. Now, the census happens every 10 years, so 10 years after 2010 is going to be 2020. The population of Appleville doubles every 10 years, so if it doubles, it's going to go from 1,000 to 2,000. And if Bridgetown increases by 1,000 every year, it's going to go from 4,000 to 5,000. You can already tell based on the language, increasing every 10 years, that's going to mean linear, and double is going to mean exponential. So Appleville is an exponential function, while Bridgetown is a linear one. So let's continue this pattern. Let's just do 2030, 2040, and 2050. So if these are doubling, 1,000 to 2,000, 2,000 to 4,000, 4,000 to 8,000, and 8,000 to 16,000 because I'm doubling each time. This time is just adding 1,000 each time. So 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, and 8,000. Let's go and answer the question. If predictions come true, what will be the first census that will show Appleville with a larger population? So when will it become bigger? It's smaller here, smaller here, smaller here, and then right here in 2040 is when Appleville exceeds Bridgetown. So in the year 2040 is when it's going to have the larger population. I'm comparing two stores, so I'm going to make a table. This is my first store, and this is my second store. Let's write equations. So this is $12.50 per month and plus a $1.50 per movie fee. Now this is confusing because per usually means slope and both of them have per. That means we need to look at the question. What is the minimum number of movies? So movies is going to be X. That's the thing that's changing. So I need to put 150 with movies. 150 is going to be the one that's going to have the X attached, which means that the starting value is going to be $12.50. So it's going to be $12.50 plus $150X. For the second store, there's no fee. It's just $3.50 per movie. So that's going to be the equation, $3.50X. What is the minimum movies they need to rent for first store to be a better deal? So let's set it equal to see what it's going to be if it's the same deal. I'm going to solve my equation. Subtract 150x on both sides. These cancel, leaving 2x equals $12.50. To get x by itself, divide by 2. And so the x movies is going to be 12.5 divided by 2, which is 6.25. Now I can't have 6.25, so it's either x equals 6 or x equals 7. So let's figure out which one of these it's going to be. So if I have 6 movies versus 7 movies, if I have 6 movies at the first store, let's use this equation. So 12.5 plus 1.50 times 6 movies. That's going to cost $21.50. If I have 7 movies at store 1, let's use the same equation. 12.5 plus 150 times 7 movies. That's going to equal $23. 6 movies at the second store, we're going to use their equation, 3.5x. 3.5 times 6 movies is $21. And then lastly, with this equation up here, 3.5 times 7 movies is going to be $24.50. So $24.50. So it's asking, at what point will first store be better than second store? Well, at 6 movies, second store is still the best deal. But at 7 movies, this becomes less. So at 7 movies, the first store will be less than the price of the second store. Karen has 2 dogs. So we're going to set up 2 different equations. The larger dog, let's put L as the larger dog, weighs 1.4 pounds more. So 1.4 pounds more is 1.4 plus the smaller dog. Let's put S as the smaller dog. So that's equation 1. Second equation, the combined weights of the 2 dogs, so large dog plus the small dog, is going to be equal to 12.6 pounds. What is the weight of pounds of the smaller dog? So I'm asking S is equal to what? When I have 2 equations, this is called a systems. We have 2 options, substitution or elimination. So in this scenario, I can already tell that substitution is going to be my easier option because I have a lone L here, and that can be substituted for this. So I'm going to take out this L and put what is equivalent to the L value. So when I reset this up, instead of L, I'm going to put 1.4 plus S instead of the L value. I'm going to drop down plus S and then drop down the plus 12.6. Now I can solve. I have 2 S's here, so this combines equal to S. I drop down the 1.4 and I drop down the 12.6 to get S by itself. Subtract 1.4 on both sides. 12.6 minus 1.4 is 11.2. Bring down the 2S, divide by 2 on both sides, and then my S value, when I do 11.2 divided by 2, is going to be 5.6. And that answers my question up here. The small dog is going to weigh 5.6 pounds.